This video is brought to you by my two books, Practical Music Theory for the Rock Guitarist and The Blues Guitar Bible. Want to learn about modes, harmony, scales, chord substitution and keys? Or maybe you're interested in supercharging your blues guitar rhythm and lead chops. Whatever you're interested in, I guarantee you will be hitting the fast lane to progress with either of these works. Both feature video demonstrations and tutorials, loads of tabs and jam tracks to play along with, and I promise you, everything is explained in crystal clear plain English. Check out the links in the description for more details. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. This is the third in the new series of videos that I'm doing on a Monday about lead guitar tips. And essentially what we're doing is one week we're doing a little bit of blues and the next week we're doing a little bit of melodic rock. It's melodic rock's turn this week, and I thought I'd just show you a few of the things that I do, or that I've learned rather, from a certain Mr. David Gilmour. He's not a player who is associated with shreddy pyrotechnics, but he is a player who, just kind of makes you listen. His solos, I think, have a way of drawing you in and grabbing your attention, and it's that sort of aspect that appeals to me about the way he plays. And obviously, when you listen to a guitar player for many years, you pick up a few things that they're doing and incorporate them into what you do. And that's sort of very much the aim of these videos, where I'm looking at the ins and outs of what a particular player might be doing. Here's me just kind of throwing a few little Gilmourisms into a bit of a jam that I did earlier today. So hopefully that got the point across nicely, and here's a little bit of an explanation about what I'm doing and how I'm thinking when I'm playing like that.
Here is the explanation.
Right then, starting off with what we're going to be playing over. It's no coincidence that the guitar players who we aspire to sound like, because they are soulful and melodic and just have that magic touch when it comes to sending a shiver down your spine, like David Gilmour in my case, it's no coincidence that often those guitar players are also, if not the main songwriter in the band, but often they often have that like a hand in the songwriting process. They know how to craft a chord sequence which is going to complement what they play over the top of it. And a little anecdote relating to that is, back in the late 80s, I was in a band with this singer-songwriter guy. And it was one of those situations where he was thinking, this is my band, and I call the shots, to which my riposte was, you want to be my boss? When do I get my first pay slip? I didn't last long in that band, it has to be said. And he had basically a song which was this chord sequence, just 2 chords. Literally that for the whole song. And he said to me, can you play it a bit like Mark Knopfler over the top of this? I said, well, write a chord sequence that's as good as one of his, and yeah, probably can. And, yeah, as I say, I didn't last long in that situation. But the chord sequence is the secret sauce which makes your guitar solo sound. It's the filter, it's the perspective, it's the viewpoint from which you hear everything, and that has a massive impact on how your solo is perceived. And one thing that Pink Floyd always used to do was to use a little bit of modal interchange. Not always, but quite often it was something they would do. Let me explain what that is. If you've got a B minor chord, let me just move this microphone. If you've got a B minor chord, which is kind of the tonality that we're at in this song here, then B minor as a chord occurs in many different keys. Okay, it's the 2 chord in the key of A major. It's the 6 chord in the key of D major. It's the 3 chord in the key of G major. So B minor can be found in a number of different keys, and modal interchange is just, okay, let's settle on that chord, but we'll use a supporting cast of chords from the various different keys it can occur in. Or you can call it borrowed chords if you want. There's a sort of very much a blurry line between where modal interchange becomes borrowed chords and vice versa. So the chord sequence I was playing over here was B minor to E, G, A, G, B minor, G, E minor, and A. So the fact that you've got an E major and an E minor in there straight away tells you that it's kind of drawing chords from more than one key. E major and E minor don't occur together in the same key. So what that does is it gives you more chords to play over. Each chord is nothing more than a selection of notes, and therefore you've got more chord notes to land upon. As you're beginning to see in all of these soloing lessons that I'm doing, targeting chord notes over the changes is a really kind of essential way of adding a touch of melody to your playing. And then there's another section to the tune as well, which also has a little bit of that kind of thing going on. We have a D to an A, C to G, then D to B minor, C, G, A. Okay, so the fact that you've got an A major and a C major in the same environment shows that, you know, you're drawing chords from more than one key, because these 2 chords cannot occur in the same key together. And once again, more access to more chord notes, etc., etc. So what do we do when we're playing over this then? Well, one thing that Gilmour likes to do a lot is to do arpeggios. I started the solo earlier with just a straight ahead B minor arpeggio, where I'm playing that little B, D, F sharp set of notes there, and then bending up to the B again here. So like that. And often he will do this in a triplet based rhythms. 1, 2 and a 3, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a, like that. And notice as well how, in terms of the timing of that lick, I started on beat 4 of the bar and concluded on beat 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, like that. a lick that crosses the bar lines is a good way, not just to kind of emulate the sort of David Gilmour thing, but, you know, it's pretty much everywhere in music, and he happens to use it, you know, whether you're thinking of guitar licks or, you know, familiar melodies. I mean, one that springs to mind is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, like that, you know, and 4 and 1, famous Beethoven riff. And I do think of that as a riff. I think if he'd been alive today, he'd probably have been in some kind of metal band or something. So yeah, the arpeggios that often cross the bar line, but that's not the only way that he uses them in triplets and stuff. You may have noticed at one point in the solo, I snuck in a little bit of a quote from a particularly famous, Pink Floyd song. That little straight line arpeggio there is one that he will use a lot. He uses it in, I think he uses it in the Mother solo from The Wall. He uses it in Comfortably Numb numerous times, and it crops up elsewhere in his playing as well. And all it is just a major. It's basically that A chord there, and you can kind of transpose that up the neck to on the second, third and fourth strings to create a major arpeggio of the chord that you're playing over. You can't really talk about David Gilmour's playing without mentioning his string bending. One that he tends to do now and again is where you'll take the root note of a minor chord. So there's the B, the root note of the B minor, and bend it up to the minor third. Like that, and very, very effective. Just make sure you get the pitch of it accurate. The thing that you need to watch out for on that is you're conscious that you're going to be doing a big interval bend, and you can often overcompensate and go too far. But then again, in Another Brick in the Wall, he does that kind of massive 4-fret bend. Something like that, I think my tuning survived that. That kind of feeds in again to the chord note thing, where you're using that big bend to bend into a chord tone, and you can also do it with a semitone bend. Quite often, if we're playing a pentatonic boxes, we often just look for the obvious 2 semitone bends, but you've just seen a 3 semitone bend there. Another one that is nice is to do the semitone bend. So let's say I'm in kind of thinking pentatonic land. Oh, I am a bit out of tune, excuse me. It's close enough for government work. Right, so let's say I'm in this pattern here. I can take this note and bend up to it from and that leads us to another thing that he will often do. He will, especially where we have that little bit of modal interchange in what I think of as the chorus part, where we've got the C chord. Okay, we're kind of playing to a B minor, D major tonality here, where, you've got an F sharp note. There's an F sharp note in a B minor chord and a D major chord. Let's get the guitar back in shot. And also in the B minor pentatonic. There it is there. Now that C chord has a G note in it. So, you can go like that over the C chord. If I just play a C chord and tap an F sharp note, you'll hear that it's a very dissonant sound. It's a tritone, arguably the most dissonant interval in music. So there's a C chord, there's an F sharp note. See what I mean? It's a really nasty dissonant note, but if you've got that chord, you can bend that nasty dissonant note up a semitone to the G, which that's actually in the chord. And if you just take it up slowly, then it gives a wonderful sort of tension and release, and just sounds nice, basically. And that is a form of the last thing I'm going to mention here, which is, the penultimate thing I'm going to mention here, which is the idea of a neighbour tone, or an appoggiatura, to give it its oldie-worldy kind of description. An appoggiatura is just when you're going to land on a chord note, because we know that landing on chord notes gives you that melodic kind of sound. Okay, so if I, let's say I want to land on the G note over the C chord, if I go like that, can you hear how that tension from that F sharp going up to the G, like that? That F sharp there is kind of creating a little bit of tension and release. It's delaying the arrival of the note that we're going to resolve onto, and that is called either a neighbour tone or an appoggiatura, and you'll find lots of these in Mr. Gilmour's playing. All of what I'm saying here, of course, is, a justification for something that I always bang on about, which is get to know where the notes are on the fretboard. It's by setting yourselves little tasks like this, where you need to find where a note is, and you go looking for it, and then you use it, and it makes you sound good. That's the kind of real world way of memorizing the fretboard, a little bit at a time with individual notes like that. And the final thing we're going to look at is the basically just what is essentially a scale exercise. You can take a pentatonic scale and come down it in overlapping groups of 3 notes. So like that, okay? Put some hammer-ons and pull-offs into it, or mainly pull-offs. That's the beginnings of a lot of David Gilmour's licks that he likes to play, especially if you put that little reiki kind of thing in before you hit the first note. So, all I'm doing there is just muting the strings and then taking the mute off as I get to the first note. So just, if you number the notes in the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on, then I'm coming down kind of 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Just overlapping groups of 3, starting 1 note further in each time. Again, loads of Gilmour solos that use that, and if you do this little kind of bluesy bend thing before, how many times have you heard that kind of thing in his solos? So there you go. There's just a few little, not ways of impersonating David Gilmour, because you don't want to do that. You want to just incorporate some of the things that he's made use of into the way you play, so that you can make them sound like you in the same way that he makes them sound like him. He didn't invent any of these things. He probably got them from Eric Clapton and Jimmy Page and, Big Jim Sullivan and, the players that he was growing up listening to. And, now he's put them all into the melting pot that is David Gilmour, and they sound like him. So you do the same thing and, make them sound like you. But there you go. Now we know what to do. Go away and have some fun with it. And as always, you'll find a full tab for the solo that we heard earlier in both Guitar Pro and PDF formats, along with a clip of me playing it, the backing track I was playing over, and that little explanation there. All of that is, as usual, up on my Patreon page. There's the address. Link in the description, as I'm sure you know by now. $3 or about £3 a month, depending on the exchange rate, etc. And it gets you access to all of these additional goodies and resources and jam tracks and tabs and stuff that go along with these YouTube videos. And of course, a massive, humongous, heartfelt thank you to everyone who supports me in that or any of the other ways, all of which are down there in the description. And that is pretty much it for today, folks. Hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful in some small way. If that's the case, why not hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so, and drop me a like as well while you're at it. That would be nice. And of course, don't forget the live stream every Friday 5 PM UK time. We just drink beer and talk about whatever we talk about, basically. It's beer and chat on a Friday. What's not to like about that? I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.